Soul Kitchen by The Doors. This is a little tutorial in dedication to Inksie. Inksie would like to know how to play this song on the ukulele, so I'm going to try to show you at least some ideas on how you might be able to play that for yourself on your ukulele. So here's the plan. This is a fairly simple song, so I'm going to show a very basic arrangement that would be suitable for just about anybody, including a beginner on the instrument. And then I'm just going to take that basic arrangement and then show several levels of refinement so you can make the song a little more interesting and rock and rolly. So, like I said, this song is fairly simple in concept, at least. There are two parts, a verse part and a chorus part. And the verse has two chords in it, and the chorus has two chords in it. And we just shuffle back and forth from one chord to the other if we're in the verse, and then we change to the chorus chords and shuffle back and forth between those. Okay? So, in the verse, the two chords are A major, which we will play just like you learned in your very first ukulele experience. And the second chord is D major, which you also know. Okay? So the idea is to go back and forth between those two chords. Now, what am I doing in this hand? I'm basically playing a version of air guitar. I'm pretending like I'm holding a pick in my hand. Even though I'm not holding a pick, I'm kind of using the back side of my index fingernail to do the strumming, right? But more than that, I'm also dampening, muting, if you will, the strings with the flesh of my hand. When my hand falls down, I can also choke off the sound. And with that combination of downstroke and mute, I can make this sound kind of interesting. So it should sound like something, well, the clock says it's time to go now. Like that, okay? And the chorus is going to be the two chords E major and the chord D major, which we just had. We'll play D major the same way. But there's a little bit of a problem in that this chord E major, played like you see it in your chord chart, is a little difficult. So many of you do this trick. I know I did it for years. Anytime you see an E major chord, you just try and substitute E7, which is much simpler to finger. So you're going to play it by substituting an E7 for that E. We're going to cheat a little bit. But it's not going to sound that bad. So we just have to go between E7 now and open D. And we're going to sing, let me sleep all night in your soul kitchen. Here's my mind in your gentle stove, yeah. Like that. So if you're a beginner, I mean, basically, this is all you need, right? Air guitar strum. If you're on the verse part, well, your fingers weave quick minarets, speaking secret alphabets. And if you're on the chorus, you go from E7 to D. Let me sleep all night in your soul kitchen, and so on. You just run off, find the lyrics, learn it, rock, have a good time. Okay? So now let's talk about a first possible refinement. what we're going to do is we're going to pimp the chorus a little bit. Instead of the open E7 and D like this, we are going to use some bar chords. And what's a bar chord? A bar chord is whenever I take my index finger and I make what is a version of this piece, this so-called nut here. I make a version of that is higher up the fretboard so I can get to different chord possibilities. Now the way this is going to work is this. You all know this chord. That is C major. Might have been the... My ukulele's out of tune. That might have been the first chord you ever learned. But did you realize that if I moved this up a fret higher, and instead of relying on the nut to hold the bottom end of the chord down, if I substituted the nut for my full-blown index finger across all 4 strings, I'd sound a chord that is also a major chord that is just a half step higher than the chord I started out at. If I started out on C major, this, ladies and gentlemen, should be C sharp major. And by the same logic, if I scooch it up another, that's a half step higher than C sharp, a chord we call D dog, D major. I do it again, it becomes D sharp major. And one more time, it becomes E, elephant major. Okay? So in this position, I am playing a real, true, honest to goodness E major chord. My index finger is barring across all strings on the 4th fret, and my little pinky finger is fretting this note on the 7th fret. Okay? Notice there's two open frets between my bar and my pinky. Very important. I keep the same geometry as with the C major chord. I just moved it up. So that's E major. And remember, the 2 chords in the chorus are E major and D major. Well, I passed a D major chord on my way up here to E major, and it was back down here a couple of slots, a couple of frets. So that's D major, and that's E major. And now I can go between E major and D major thusly, just by keeping the same geometry. I don't change my hand position, I just move my hand position as a unit and then move it back down. In order to do the moving, I can't have a death grip on this chord. I have to kind of lighten my grip, then move, then press down again to sound the chord here. Lighten up, move it, press it down again like that. But look what we get. I'll still use the air guitar strum. Let me sleep all night in your soul kitchen. Warm my mind near your gentle soul, yeah. That's cooler and easier than what we did before, okay? It's more rock and roll than what we did before, all right? So, I would say at this point, you could call that the first refinement. You can play your verse part, your fingers weave quick minarets, just as we did before. And then when you get to the chorus part, let me sleep all night in your soul kitchen, like that, and rock out, okay? That's the first refinement. Now the second refinement I want to do is that this is a rock and roll tune that is based on, really on a riff. Now, what is a riff? A riff is a series of cool sounding moves that you do on your instrument, often repeatedly, okay? And that's what happens in this song when the keyboard player, Ray Manzarek, plays that da da la ah 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 la ah 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 la. That's really a solid, cool groove. And we would like to get a little taste of that groove. It won't sound the same because we're playing ukulele, and he was playing probably a Rhodes electric piano on that. But we can try. Why not? So how are we going to get a the la sound comes from just adding a note to the D, open D chord that we've been holding. And if I use my ring finger here on that on that C note, which is at the 3rd fret of the A string, I can put that on and take it off and put it back on, and sometimes hammer it on and pull it off. Then I can do some cool things. Your fingers weave quick minarets, speaking secret alphabets. Like that, okay? So you could say that's the second refinement. We're starting to build a riff. Okay? But let's make it even cooler. Instead of going between the open A and the D like that, let's also go from a bar chord version of A major up here, also at the 4th fret, okay? Our E major chord that we were playing for the rock and roll chorus is here, but with that same bar on the 4th fret, I can position my fingers thusly and play a chord that is the equivalent of, in fact it is, A major, okay? Same chord as down here. Now how did I do that? Well, I'm going to demonstrate it the same way I demonstrated the E chord. This shape is based on the open F chord you learned down here. If I move the F shape up one, I get F sharp major. If I move it up again, I get G major. If I move it up again, I get G sharp major. And if I move it up one more time, I get A major. That is an A major chord. And so now I can go That's having more of a feeling of a riff. Why? Because it's got these cool moves. You can hear kind of the slide down out of that A major. I just kind of let it fall. I have to keep pressing the chord down and kind of scrunch it down. But then I'm going to play the same open D with the little extra D7 action I'm getting by adding and subtracting that C note off of the A string. And also when I'm done doing that move there, I can kind of keep this finger on as I run back up, and doing so also kind of gets my hand position is changing to that shape as I'm coming up. You're kind of doing the change from this to this shape on the fly as you're kind of shooting up. So you can hear more of that riff thing happening. Okay, one final refinement. It's a little boring to be going all the time to A major, all the time. But there is a substitute chord we can put in there for A major, and it's just A7. And it's right nearby. It's just one fret away, one fret higher. I can make this A7 sound. This was A, and this is A7. It's just giving that extra kind of bluesy sound to the chord up at the top. Now how I derived that was also off of an F, in this case F7. You know how to play F7. A lot of people play it like this with 3 fingers and leave that open. The A string is sounding an open A. But I'm encouraging you right now to just get in the habit of playing the F7 always as a 4-fingered chord with your pinky finger on that C note all the time. If you do that and you get used to playing F7 always like this, it sounds, in my opinion, better, and because every single string has been covered, this makes it a movable shape. So I can do the same process of moving that from F7 to F sharp 7 to G7 to G sharp 7 to A7. When my index finger that's fingering this note here reaches the 5th fret, it is playing an A note, and that's the root of this A7 chord. So I have, at the top, I've got 2 places to go. I can go grab this, which is A major, with a bar chord with my index finger barring across the 4th fret, or I can go to this shape, A7, where my index finger is at the 5th fret, right? That's the one with a dot on it, yeah? And then I'm going to be playing A7. And then I can toggle between run that down through the D7 riff, and then when I run back up, I'm going to grab A7 this time and run that down, do my D7 thing, and then run back up and grab A, and just go back and forth between grabbing A, down, run upstairs, grab A7, run back down, run back up, grab A, run back down, this time grabbing A7. Okay, so it sounds like this. Your fingers weave quick minarets, speaking secret alphabets. I light another cigarette, run to forget, learn to forget. Let me sleep all night in your soul kitchen, warm my mind near your gentle stove. Well, test me out, I'll wander, baby, stumbling through the neon glow. Great song. A lot of fun to play. And hopefully you'll be able to share it with all your friends. Okay? Ciao.